Okay? Because that's the key. Note readers don't listen. Note readers just play. Every note reader will tell you the same thing. I have to have the music. Audrey and I talk about that. We learned the same way in college. You have the music, you play the music. Getting out of that box is really hard when you've been trained to read notes. Note readers, and I would say 80% of the teachers that come through this building cannot play without music. They can't. They learned the same way I did. So now, you guys, because some of you are just starting and haven't played that long, you have an opportunity to have confidence with notes and guts without them. Okay? It just takes the brain to play with notes. Anybody can do it. It takes guts to play without it. But it's so much fun. Now, if you can do both, because I'm a control person, I want to be in both lines. Okay? So, if you want to do both, you can take the structure of a song and you can put your ear to it. You just learn how the song goes and then you put the song away.
What is the difference between improvisation and by ear?
Okay? There's a book. What's his name? I'm having a senior moment. Anyway, I have a book in my repertoire, in my collection, that's called Improvisation. And boy, when I was younger, I was determined. I wanted to learn how to be a good improviser. I bought this book, and I went from the front of it to the back of it. And in the book itself, I could play. I sounded pretty darn good. I never could apply one thing in that book to anything else. Now, Cecil, my husband, calls it, you got to fill up your bag with tricks. And you have to learn the tricks and then start pulling them out of the bag. Okay, ear players, they don't even need a bag. They just have confidence enough to know that there's only 12 notes. There's only 12 tones in music. So your odds are pretty darn good if you're going to find one that once you find the melody, that the other notes will just happen. Do you ever listen to barbershop quartets? They fascinate me because these people can literally, 4 people, each singing a different part, can literally take a song that they just know generally and make harmony without practicing. How does a tenor and an alto and a bass know what notes to put? But if you ever listen to a barbershop quartet, you can hear them hitting the wrong note and fixing it. And I think that's what annoys me so much, because I hear them singing, you'll hear the guy go, So, anyway, but that's because they're just winging it. So, improvisation just means, to a note reader, it means putting in harmonic minor scales and different kinds of scales, and Aeolian and Mixolydian, and if you learn all that crap in college, you can put that on the internet, that's okay. I learned it all. They never told me what to do with it, ever. You gotta learn these, 8, 9 different kinds of scales, but what do you do with them? Now Cecil's trying to teach his class. He says, well, you guys gotta learn these scales. Well, why? Until you tell me why and what I'm supposed to do with it, don't bother me. Okay, improvisation to an ear player means fixing a screw up. Okay? It does. Because I have learned that when you mess up, the fix-it part is what makes you sound amazing. If you play a chord wrong, trying to fix it while you're playing makes the song sound great. Now, here's another good example. We grew an herb garden this year. I have every herb unknown unto man growing in my herb garden. When they started growing, I have to be honest, I didn't have a clue what to do with any of it. Except basil. I knew what to do with that. Put it with some tomatoes and some, in some balsamic and put it on French bread. So now I got chives and sage, and I don't like cilantro, so I didn't plant that. and mint and all this great stuff growing in my garden. And I have to use it. Okay, so now I'm on the internet. Cecil and I are learning how to cook with all this, with thyme. And so you know what it did? It turned boring food into, wow, just this one little pinch of this made such a difference. And now I don't even, and I had to start with a recipe because I was afraid what if I put thyme on chicken, what it would do to it, and I don't want to ruin dinner. It's kind of the same way with music. If you just get some guts, now I just go out there, I clip off something, and I throw it in. Okay, so improvisation to a note reader means to stop being so confined and start doing something fun. So here's what you're going to do today. And I know Satin Doll looks really scary, doesn't it? Look at it. Gee, it's like, how many 7th chords can you put in one song? Okay, well, here's what an ear player would do with this song. And I stole this from Cecil. So if it goes on the internet, I don't care. He didn't do this with his students. And I decided, well, if he isn't going to do it, then I will. Because I figured out and this is how I pretty much figured out everything that I teach, is by listening to someone who's way over my head and try to bring it down so I can understand it. Everything in this song is based on one position for a chord. Everything. If you do what I tell you, you are going to be amazed at how you sound. Because I blew myself away. Alright? If you're watching this on video, you can just go get an arrangement of Satin Doll, because I didn't change the chords. They're the same in every song. Every single chord has a 7 on it. Every single one of them. Okay? Now, when that happens, and you have all the 7 chords in there, you can literally lock your hand and play every chord and never have to explain how you did it. Ever. Now, this is really cool. Watch this. And now is when I want you to just put away all the fear and just relax and accept it the way it is, okay? Even if you can't play a note, you can do this. You know how Satin Doll goes, and you can pick out the melody, because the melody in Satin Doll is so easy because the notes don't jump around. They're very close together, so it's an easy song to play by ear. All right? You're not jumping big intervals. They're all next to each other and just a couple of jumps, okay? But the chords, D minor, G7, D minor, G7, E minor, A7, E minor, A7. Now, look at the pattern there. They're just repetitious. It goes D minor, G7, D minor, G7, E minor, A7, E minor, A7, D7, D flat, C. Then you repeat it. Okay? Then you got the dumb little bridge that no one ever can remember, and then it goes back and repeats it to the beginning again. All right, so you don't have to learn a lot to play this song. And then now I wrote the chords over here. But look at the chords. They don't look like any chord you've ever seen before, right? They don't look normal. That's because most chords have, 7th chords have 4 notes, right? There's only 3. All right, so look. If I play C7, let's do G7. G7. It's G every other note. Okay? And that sounds, my husband says, if you want to recognize a beginner or a note reader that's learning chords out of a book, you will always hear them play 4 notes. Always. All right. What's going to set you apart from everybody else is when you leave one of them out. What is the one you leave out? 1st, 3rd, 5th, or 7th?
5th.
What's the least most important note in this chord? The 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's what you do. You play the chord and you leave out the 5th. So every chord in Satin Doll feels like this. The name of the chord, the 3rd note up, and the top note here. So it's a skip 1, skip 3. Write that down. Put your little finger on the name skip 1, skip 3. And lock your hand because every single chord is going to feel like that.